One of the most damaging myths that these whinging feminazis still, to this day, believe in their oppression utopia where they're always victims and men are always privileged is the stupid wage gap myth. Anyone with half a brain in their head can look at the data and say this is bullshit. It's not a wage gap, it is an earnings gap, mainly due to the hours worked and career choices by men and women. Everybody knows this. It has been debunked a million times. Yet, people, we have actual senators of the United States elected by, in this case, the people of California, who propagate this myth as if women are somehow oppressed, being paid 78 cents on the dollar to a man, which is absolute nonsense. We all know it is a twisting of the statistics to get the whammon folk fired up. We're just victims. We're oppressed. Look at this patriarchal hellhole we live in. Look at it. Senator Kamala Harris, who is a legitimate candidate for president of the United States in 2020, and I think she could actually do pretty well if she's nominated. Well, Kamala Harris, my gender wage gap. What she's trying to do, obviously, is foment the anger. You women are oppressed, and I'm going to save you. You know, Senator Harris, what exactly did President Obama do about this mythical unicorn you call the wage gap? What did President Bill Clinton? He had 2 terms. So did Obama. What did they do about it? If it actually existed? Nothing. Because there's no need to solve a problem that does not exist in reality. Have you heard of that place, Senator Harris? You know, where the rest of us live. Not you. So Senator Harris, presidential candidate, pledged on Monday to eliminate the gender wage gap. Releasing a campaign proposal billed as the most aggressive equal pay proposal in history. Proposing solutions to problems that aren't real. Senator Harris says this has got to end, and it's an outrage. You know what's outrageous, Senator Harris? The fact that enough women in the United States actually believe in this bullshit. That's what the outrage is. It says here under her plan, companies would face a 1% profit fine for every 1% wage gap that they allow to exist in their ranks. How do you calculate that? Do you use the same method today, which averages out all men's salaries and all women's salaries and comes up with a freaking average? And the solution to this would be what, Senator Harris? I don't know how they get away with this shit. The fines, let's be honest, a new tax revenue stream, because no matter what you do, companies, they're going to find a wage gap. You know that. Right? In the first decade, picks up $180 billion to spend on what? According to the campaign's projections, smaller takes in later years as companies come into compliance. And then once that money is allocated for a particular social program, they will demand more money from other programs because it's for the children. Don't we all know how this game is played by now, people? The money would support paid family leave. Hamster didn't even read that, but you know what? Been down the block a couple times. I know how these people think. To avoid paying fines, businesses with 100 or more employees would have to hire only men, because that's what this is coming to. Between Me Too, this bullshit, which will never pass, don't worry about that, they'll have to achieve some kind of equal pay certification every 2 years under a new federal program headed by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which has happily been enforcing the Equal Pay Act of 1963 since 1963, Senator Harris. You idiot feminazis do understand it has been illegal to pay men and women different based on their sex. The Harris campaign, in its announcement, said her plan would require employers to prove they're not engaging in discrimination. How do you prove you're not engaging in something you're not engaging in? How do you define discrimination? Would it affect men being paid less? Of course not. Because men are always the oppressors and women always the victims. I mean, you could look at Google. Recently came out and said, oh yeah, by the way, we've been paying our men less than women. Oops. here's a check. No, no. That, of course, wouldn't be covered under federal law because an inequality in favor of females is only fair, after all. Quote, our current equal pay laws rely exclusively on proving instances of individual discrimination. Oh, we have equal pay laws today? Really? Who knew? And place the burden entirely on employees to hold big corporations accountable. No. You call the EEOC and say, I've got a problem. They come and investigate. All you got to do is make a phone call. Senator Harris. Maybe you don't know how it works. Oh, that's right. You haven't had a real job in decades. I understand. Quote, but too often, individual cases of discrimination go unnoticed or are too difficult or expensive to prove in court, and workers face increasingly high barriers in banding together to prove their claims. What does that have to do with anything? We're not talking about a class action lawsuit here, Senator Harris. You dial 1-800-EEOC, and they do all the work for you. As a matter of fact, we can look at recent numbers with the EEOC. And remember now, every woman in the United States is paid 77 cents on the dollar. Do you think for 1 minute women would let that get away? We'll just, it's just the way it is. This is patriarchy. No, they would be melting down the phone lines at the EEOC, and there would be millions of lawsuits against companies because of all these women that are being paid 77 cents for the same work. When in fact, less than 100 cases last year were found to be valid by the EEOC. 100! So this is more political pandering bullshit to women who evidently can't take birth control either. You see, most of the women in this country, they know this is bullshit, Senator Harris. You can pander to them all day long. Hey, we'll give you free family care, and we'll do all this other bullshit. There's no free. You just wait. You keep piling this shit on companies, asking them to prove things that don't exist, and fining them. They're just not going to hire women. They'd rather pay the discrimination fine because it'll be cheaper. But go ahead, make your bed. See how comfy it is if you get there. Link below, James Maxwell. Thank you for listening.